Hello, folks. This is Abhyash Timsina. I'm someone with 3 years of Salesforce experience, and I've got 5 Salesforce certifications under my belt at the moment. I've created this video so that we can go over some typical requirements you can expect from clients for Salesforce implementation. I'll go over in detail on how to implement each of the requirements just for your understanding. Let's get started. Okay, so basically we're going to go through this document, Excel format that has the requirements. It's got a list of about 17 different requirements, and we're going to go over one by one. Okay, for requirement number 1, it says here, lead capturing from web from calls, reference for employee. Company has 2 websites. While capturing the leads from website, basic details should be captured. Name, email, product category, query, etc. Okay, so there's 2 different things that's involved here. First of all, we need to create some pick list values in the lead source field in the lead source object, and there's also that we need to create a web to lead um, configuration. So we'll get started on that now. Okay, so the first step is that we'd go into the object manager, find the lead object, which is right here. Go into fields and relationships, and we're looking for the lead source. Because as you can see in the requirements, it says here that we're lead capturing from web, from calls, reference from employee, and it's got the websites as well. So in the lead source, what I've done is I've created pick list values for phone inquiry, employee referral, and website 1 and website 2. Okay, so the next step is web to lead. So just type web to lead in the search bar at the top. So in this section, we're just going to create a new web to lead form. And now you can see here available fields and selected fields. As per the requirements, it says that we need name, email, product category, and query. So name, email, get rid of the company by clicking that button, or city, state. So it says here name, email, product category, and query. So product category, I created a separate field for that, as well as the query, which would be the description right here. Just untick this one for now. It's not relevant. Return URL just means where you want the it says here after users submit the web to lead form, they'll be taken to a specified return URL on your website just as a thank you page. So let's just put in as your developer link right here. Now just hit the generate button. Now you'll be given a HTML code. If you're familiar with HTML, then all you have to do is just copy and paste this code into the HTML section of your website, and this web to lead form will appear there. Okay, so the next requirement number 2, it says here that there are 2 product categories, software and hardware. The way I've set that up is going into Object Manager again and going into the lead object. And in fields and relationships, I created a new pick list called product category. So going inside there, I've created 2 different values, hardware and software. So the next requirement here says the lead should automatically get assigned one of the 2 sales reps, one dedicated for handling software-related queries, also a system administrator, and the other dedicated for handling hardware-related queries. Okay, to satisfy that requirement, there's a couple of things we need to do. We need to set up roles, we need to assign some users to the roles, we need to set up queues, and then we need to set up some lead assignment rules. So first step, let's go into roles in the search bar at the top. Click on the setup roles button there. On the right hand side, you can say show in list view. So here I've created 2 different roles, hardware support and software support. So when you click on the hardware support, you can see that I've assigned this hardware support role to Jane Kando, who's the user. The user was already created previously, and the same with the software support. I've assigned myself as the software support because here in the requirements, it's asking for one dedicated for handling software-related queries, also a system administrator. Since I myself am a systems administrator, I've assigned myself that role. And next thing is queues. So here I've created two different queues. I created a hardware support queue and a software support queue. Just going to the hardware support queue, as you can see here that Jane Candos is a part of the hardware support queue. And magically, you can see my own name in the software support queue. Next thing is lead assignment. So going into lead assignment rules at the top, again, I've created actually I've just created one rule here. This is hardware and software. And here in the rule criteria, I've created lead equals hardware software, then assign it to the hardware support queue, and then lead equals software, it assigns to the software support queue, and that should satisfy that requirement. Okay, so here, requirement number 4, it says, when lead rating becomes hot, an email should be generated and sent to the CEO. Okay, to satisfy this requirement, there's two different things that need to set up. Something called email alerts and workflow rules. So let's start with email alerts. Click continue here. So I've already created an email alert called lead rating hot. So first of all, you have to create an email template. It's basically something that you want to write that the recipient should get. So here I've written Dear CFO, the lead for, and this is just a web merge field, lead.first name and lead.last name has changed to, and then the lead rating field. So that's the first thing that you need to do. Second thing you need to do here, you can see the recipients is the role CEO. So I've already set it up so that the recipient is the CEO. As you can see here, I've set it up like this. Selected recipient. And for that to occur, you have to set up the rule for the email alert, which is here. So it says here that if the rule criteria, if lead rating equals hot, then it will send out that email alert. Now, next step is the workflow rules. Let's hit continue. So again, I've created a workflow rule called lead rating becomes hot. And it will take it to the same page. Just a workflow rule that that's linked with the email alert. Okay, for requirement number 5, it says here, on lead conversion, a mail should go to the finance team. Okay, this is very similar to the previous requirement. So back in workflow rules, I've created something called lead converted. So when you click on that, it says here the rule criteria is if lead status equals close converted, it's gonna fire this workflow action, which is lead converted, which is as an email alert. And the recipients is the role finance team. And I've used this email template, which is, dear finance team, the lead for first name, last name has changed to lead status. So it's very similar to the previous requirement. Requirement number 6 states the hardware and software opportunities needed to undergo different sales processes. And it's provided the processes over here, which is for hardware sales stages, it's got these processes, and then software sales stages, it's got these processes. To satisfy this requirement, you just go into the search bar and write sales processes. And here I've created two different sales processes. It's hardware and software. So going to the hardware, it's just basically just transferring data, adding the data from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. As per the requirements, it says here, hardware sales prospecting, qualification, close won, close lost. So it's set up the same way over here. Similarly with the software, you're just setting up the same type of processes as per the requirement over here. And that's it. Requirement number 7 states, for the software opportunity, we also need to track additional information about trial period start date and trial period end date. This should not be visible on the hardware opportunity page. So a couple of things that's required here. We're going to be working on the opportunity object. We're going to create some new custom fields. We're going to create record types for hardware and software. We're going to assign, two different page layouts, and we're going to create the layout assignment into the record types. So going into Object Manager and going into the opportunity object and fields and relationships. You can see here that I've created two different, date fields, which is trial period end date and trial period start date. Now, if you go into the record types, I've also created two different record types, which is hardware and software. And this is the screen for that. So what this allows you to do is just, when people click on the opportunity object, they're able to select out of, two different record types. You just, it's like an initial screen before it gets to the main opportunity screen. Now I've created page layouts for each of those record types, hardware and software. Clicking on hardware, you can see that, this is how the page layout is set up. You can see here that the trial period start and end date is not visible as per the requirement here. It says they should not be visible on the hardware opportunity page. Whereas if you go into the software page layout, it's actually visible there. And the way this was done is going to the page layouts and clicking on page layout assignment. I've assigned the hardware record type to the hardware page layout, similarly with the software as well. Okay, so requirements number 9, it requires that the software sales rep, being a system administrator, should be able to create both hardware and software opportunities. However, the hardware sales rep should only be able to create hardware opportunities. Okay, this one's a bit tricky one. So just in the search bar, just search for profiles. So here I've created two different profiles. There's one for hardware and one for software. So if you go into the hardware profile and then scroll down all the way down to record types, might be a bit further type here, record type settings, and then here you can see opportunities. So when you click on that, the selected record type says hardware. So in the requirement here, it says here, the hardware sales rep should only be able to create hardware opportunities. So as per the setting for the record type in profiles, I've just selected hardware. But if you go into the software profile, sorry, further back. In the software profile, and just go down to the bottom where it says record type settings again, and then search for the opportunities. So here I've selected that both hardware and software are selected. This is just to satisfy that software sales rep, being a system administrator, should be able to create both hardware and software opportunities. Okay, requirements number 10. For hardware opportunities, a delivery date must be captured when opportunity has advanced to negotiation review or closed won. Okay, to satisfy this requirement, there's just two things that's required here. For the opportunity object, we're going to create a new custom field, and we're going to create validation rules with formulas. So going into Object Manager and going to the opportunity object, which is right here, and if we're going to fields and relationships, it says in the requirement that we need to create a delivery date field. So here I've created a date field called delivery date. And if you go into validation rules for the opportunity, I've already created a rule here that says delivery date on hardware. Now I'll work through this formula with you. So looking back at our requirement, for hardware opportunities, a delivery date must be captured when opportunity has advanced to a negotiation review or closed one. And it says for hardware opportunities only. So in the formula, if the record type is hardware and the stage name is negotiation review or stage name is closed one and the delivery date field is blank, then this validation rule will fire. But if it's false, then it won't. So for requirement number 11, there's three different parts, so I'll just go by it one by one. So for both kinds of opportunities, ensure the following. The close date must not be a past date. Probability must be 100% if the stage is closed one. And a field called days open should contain the number of days since the opportunity is open. Once it is closed one, the days open field should stop advancing further. Now I'll go through that in detail with you. So back in the validation rules for the opportunity object, I've created here close date not past date. So you just click on that. Now the rule says the close date must not be a past date. So it's a very simple formula. If the close date is less than today, which is the past date, then this validation rule will fire. Okay, this other requirement says probability must be 100% if the stage is closed in one. Again, back in the validation rules for the opportunity object, I've created a validation rule here. It says if the stage name is closed one, probability must equals to 1, which is 100%. Next requirement says a field called days open should contain the number of days since the opportunity is open. So if you go into the opportunity object and go into the fields and relationships, it says here that a field called days open, right? So I have to create a new field called days open. And I've created that as a formula. So if you click on that, now this might be a bit complex for you, but I'll explain it in detail. So it says here, should contain the number of days since the opportunity is open. And since it is closed one, the days open field should stop advancing further. Now this formula is checking is closed. This is a standard Salesforce like a class that checks if the thing is closed. So if close date is minus the date value of the created date, then this formula equals true. Otherwise, the result will be today minus the created date value. And if you look here, it says here that it should contain the number of days since the opportunity is open. Once it is closed one, the days open field should stop advancing further. So for requirement number 12, it says here, as a best practice, the company has decided to have the opportunity naming convention as account name ... opportunity name. For example, if the opportunity is pertaining to 200 laptops from account ABC, the opportunity naming convention should be ABC 200 laptops. Okay, so the way this is done through a workflow rule. So if you go into the workflow rules section and just hit continue at the bottom here, I've already created a workflow rule called account name with opportunity name. And as you can see here, the rule criteria says, it should not contain the opportunity name and account name for this to work. And it's gonna, the workflow action will be a field update. And what the field update will do is it'll add the formula. It says here that account name should be on top of in front of the opportunity name. It's going to add that symbol at the middle, and then it's going to put in the opportunity name. Requirement 13 asks for whenever an opportunity is closed lost, it will send an email notification to the opportunity owner informing them and create a task for the opportunity owner to analyze the reason for losing the deal. Okay, the way this is done is also done through a workflow rule. So let's go to the section there again. I've already created the workflow rule called email task for closed lost. So as you can see, the rule criteria states if opportunity stage equals closed lost, then these two things will happen for the workflow action. Now, first step is it's going to create a task for the opportunity owner. So it says here that it's been assigned to the opportunity owner. The subject is please analyze the reason for losing the deal. That's the first thing. Second thing, as per the requirement states, is that, okay, create a task for the opportunity to analyze the reason for losing the deal. We've done that already. Next thing is send an email notification to the opportunity owner informing them. Okay, so if we, I've also created an email alert here that says opportunity closed lost email, right? And what this will do is it's going to use an email template that we created earlier. Here in the merge fields, it says dear opportunity owner full name. The opportunity title and then the name of the opportunity is the specific stage name. You will have a task created for you to analyze the reason for losing the deal. And it will send an email alert to the opportunity owner as per the recipient. And that satisfies that requirement. Requirement 14 states, set up quotes in Salesforce. On total amount, add 10% as tax plus add $49 fixed handling charge. There are two things you need to do here first. So just look for quotes settings. As you can see, I've already enabled quotes for my organization. It's normally in default disabled, so I've done that already. Now go into Object Manager. Once that is enabled, you'll see a new object called quotes. It's down here. So the requirement says, on total amount, add 10% as tax plus fixed handling fee. So in the fields and relationships, I've created a new custom field called total amount with tax and handling fee as a formula. Now what the formula does is if the total price plus total price times 10%, which will give you the 10% figure, and then plus 49, it's gonna return the value for this requirement. This next requirement says the following reports are required: sales pipeline, opportunity close this month, hardware sales versus software sales, lead source distribution, sorry, and lead percentage from website 1 and 2. Okay, for this requirement, I cannot show you actually how I created the reports, but I can show you the reports itself. Just clicking on this icon there, and then just searching for the reports object. Let's go into the all folders. So here it says the requirement is, sales pipeline report. So if you click on the sales pipeline report, just showing you a report based on the opportunities object. So just using the relevant fields, and it's a typical sales pipeline report actually. Go back into their reports again. Opportunities closed this month. Opportunities closed this month. So there's no opportunities closed this month actually because I haven't added any extra opportunities. But just using a couple of filters is saying that the close date just for this month only. The other report, hardware sales versus software sales. So software versus hardware sales. Just hardware sales and software sales. Is this based upon the opportunity again? And it's just based upon the record types that we created earlier. And I've just grouped it by that field. Still the one. Lead source distribution. So if you go back here, lead source distribution, you're just categorizing your leads by the source. It's just very simple report. And lastly, lead percentage from website 1 and 2. So just back in reports, lead percentage from website 1 and 2. You just, I created the custom pick list for the lead source and added, website 1 and 2. And I'm just basically just grouping the report by those two pick list fields. And that's it. So this next requirement says, both sales reps typically require researching each account by visiting the account website. However, they do not want to leave the opportunity page to find the related account website. Please provide a solution. Okay, this one will be using a lookup field. So let's go into the opportunity object and go into fields and relationships. I've already created a custom field called account website, and that's just a formula. So just click on that. So what this formula will do is just, it's gonna put the account, like from the account object, it's gonna put the website field and return that back into the opportunity object. So here it says, it requires researching each account by visiting the account website. They don't want to leave the opportunity page to find the related account website. So this formula it'll derive the account website into the opportunity object. Okay, so for the last requirement, it says the account manager wants to see business one for each account when on the account page, without needing to go to the individual opportunities and sum up the individual values. Please provide a solution. Okay, to do this, go into the object manager, go into accounts, and field and relationships. Now I've created a new custom field called Total Business One. It's a roll-up summary field. Now just showing you how this works. It's just a automatic calculation. It's gonna summarize the object opportunities. It'll sum up all the objects, all the records for opportunities relating to this account, and it's gonna aggregate it by the amount field. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you've enjoyed this informative video. You can always reach out to me for any questions you may have with any of the requirements that we went through over here. This is my email address, abhyash@yahoo.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn for any questions that you may have. So yeah, we'll see you next time.